Pac-Man, the golden age of video arcade games, chiptune music, the electronic sound of the 80s. I made this a few nights ago. Minus the clubby kick drum during the second half, everything was made with yyyyyyyy's free plugin. I snuck in a mashup of an old synth riff from a song I wrote called I'll Meet You There from one of my earlier records. One for the critics. I grew up in the late 80s/early 90s and naturally chalked up about 1 billion hours playing epic video games via legendary original Nintendo console. In retrospect, despite my inability to recall the objectives of 50% of the games I played, there was always one part of each of them that never left me. The music. I'm a huge fan of Japanese chiptune wizards yyyyyyy, and I recently downloaded their aforementioned AU/VST compatible magical 8-bit plug to experiment with during long flights and airport layovers. The thing is seriously amazing, not to mention really fun. Okay, take a deep breath. The NES board supported a total of 5 sound channels. These included 2 pulse wave channels of variable duty cycle, 12.5%, 25%, 50%, and 75%, with a volume control of 16 levels and hardware pitch bending supporting frequencies ranging from 54 Hz to 28 kHz. Additional channels included 1 fixed volume triangle wave channel supporting frequencies from 27 Hz to 56 kHz, 1 16 volume level white noise channel supporting 2 modes by adjusting inputs on a linear feedback shift register at 16 pre-programmed frequencies, and 1 differential pulse code modulation DPCM channel with 6 bits of range, using 1-bit delta encoding at 16 pre-programmed sample rates from 4.2 kHz to 33.5 kHz. This final channel was also capable of playing standard pulse code modulation (PCM) sound by writing individual 7-bit values at timed intervals. Basically, there wasn't much to work with back in the day. These systems were unique in that they marked a period in the technological development of game audio in which dedicated hardware subsystems or sound chips were used to create sound. It was after this period that video game audio progressed onwards to sample playback and wavetable synthesis techniques, replacing the dedicated sound chip-based techniques that had been used previously to synthesize sounds in real time. The original Rico 2A03. I've heard it said before that having too many tools can ironically limit one's creativity, and henceforth I find it amazing how innovative early video game composers had to be. If they wanted a kick or a snare drum, they virtually had to make it out of a bit of white noise or some other waveform. If they wanted a pad, or a crash, or a bass, they had to make them by hand. Whether you enjoy it or not, the way this type of music was made via this particular artistic palette was pretty visionary given the limited amount of tools that were available via this specific circuit. yyyyyyy did an incredible job. The magical 8-bit plugin. I can't get over how amazing it sounds. I've yet to stumble across an 8-bit circuit emulator that sounds half as authentic. The triangle waveform even has that classic high-frequency overtone, and yyyyyy's white noise is a lot harsher than that of most synths. Pure vintage. So nostalgic, makes me want to dig around on eBay for an old NES and bust out all the old classics.